What is your New Year's resolution? So I'm not a guy that actually likes making resolutions. I don't think you should set goals for yourself, especially if they're particularly likely to fail. I mean, I'm fine with making short-term goals and even long-term goals as long as they're not on like a time limit. Because anytime you fail, I think you just lower your self-confidence, and you should be working towards building your self-confidence. And the way you establish that is by succeeding at things, and failure is part of the process, of course. Like, it's fine to fail, and I would say even important at times because you can learn from those mistakes. Anyway, so my New Year's resolution last year was to start exercising. So I go to the gym now for 3 hours a week, usually 45 minutes over 4 days, and I've been doing that pretty consistently over the last year, and I feel better. And so my New Year's resolution this time is to start lifting weights, but I don't want to set a number to that weight because I don't know what is actually a reasonable expectation, and I guess I could look it up, but I'm not going to. And so this year I'm just gonna lift weights 3 times a week, and we'll see how that goes. Anyway, welcome to the Path of Least Resistance. I am Tahm. Today we're going to do a run using Ekko against these 4.5 star Aurelion Sol adventure. It's only level 17 and I want to level him up, so I'm using a Cosmic Blessing and Stalker's Blade. Ekko getting extra strikes makes more time tricks, and that's pretty good. Lost Chapter is also good. I suppose you could use Archangel's Staff as well. Having access to mana, pretty nice. If you have Ekko in Spirit, that's also very good, because having more copies of Ekko can lead you into like an infinite combo. And so for his Constellation, we're only thinking about the first 3 stars. We have his 2-star, which is +1 starting mana, and your created cards cost 1 less. This is why Echoing Spirit is good. And then you also have, when you see a unit in a prediction, grant it +2/+2 and a random keyword. It's an upgrade of the 1-star, which is why we don't talk about the 1-star. And I want to do something a little bit different here and really explain what I'm thinking and doing. So I do that obviously a little bit, but I don't think that I actually do it a lot, and there are a lot of things that I kind of gloss over, or I'll say this is obvious, like that kind of thing. I don't really explain why it's obvious or why I'm making every decision that I'm making, and so this is going to be a bit of an over-explain. So obviously here you take sorcery. So sorcery is one of the best powers in the game. We were just talking about how having extra mana is really good on Ekko, and so this is why we take it. I believe sorcery is also his 4-star power. So even Riot thinks that it is something that you should be taking. Let me just verify here. Yeah, sorcery is your 4-star. So obviously if you had the 4-star, you would skip sorcery because you already have it. But since I don't have it, taking it will help a lot. There are better powers. So here's what I'm thinking when I look at this list. First, sorcery is something that we really want because it's very powerful. It's actually one of the best powers in the game, I would say, because mana is, the engine that drives everything that you're doing in the game. And having free spell mana, especially in a spell-based champion like Ekko, is really powerful. So, and then we have 4 rerolls, which means we could potentially roll into something better like Perfected Mana Flow. Maybe even Trifarian Might would be good. Mana Flow, of course, being good because mana. And then something like Trifarian Might is good because we're going to be summoning a lot of units, often with high power. And so if we have Trifarian Might, we're going to be doing extra strikes with that, which will help us clear out the board. But we have a power that's really good in front of us already, so it's a risk, and we might get nothing good. This could be the best power that we see in this 4 set, and then if we wanted to see non-pity powers, we would have to, beat the first adventure. So, I guess that's something else I should explain, since this is an over-explain. You have powers, and you have rares, and you have commons. The pity power pool, this is the pool that you get if you just start a game and retire, or start a game and lose before you finish the first fight, is made up of commons. I don't think every common is in there, but it might be. For a while it wasn't. I don't know if it's changed. You can only get common powers. A lot of common powers are good, so oftentimes it's not really a detriment. Sometimes we want specifically those pity powers. Good examples of this are Disarmed, for like the Thresh adventure. Actually, any early adventure, Disarmed is good. It gives your enemies -1 power, which is very significant. Or something like Bouncing Blades gives you a Blade's Edge to start every turn. You can use that on a lot of champions. You can trigger Plunder with it, which lets you use relics like Scourge's Stash. And there's probably other counterfeit copies is a big one that I like to use. Just making more copies of your important cards so you're more likely to draw them. And also just creating extras of cards that you may not normally be able to get an extra card of is important. So something like Cryo Phoenix on Anivia just gives you extra healing where you would not normally have access to that. So Pity Power Pool is fine, but you do want better powers, and better powers are available. So here we take Sorcery for all of those reasons. Why we're excluding Wounded Prey: when an enemy with 2 health is summoned, deal 1 to it. This doesn't do as much as Sorcery does. If we were something like Warwick, where instances of damage add up, or if we were a burn champion and we needed those units like Mel maybe to have 1 less health, that, you know, could be a good pick. Raiding Party is good if you can do a lot of small amounts of damage to the Nexus, or big amounts of damage, lots of instances of damage to the Nexus. Then Raiding Party is good, but we're not really doing that. And we are kind of a spell slinger, so we're going to take Sorcery. Ekko's kind of a mix. Then we'll go into Tahm Kench. So his power today is, this will change over time. Every time you do the adventure, they get one of, I think, 6 powers. I have a whole guide on Aurelion Sol if you want to look at that. I'm not going to go too deep into that. But we have Unstable Inventory, which is game start. The foe adds a random item to each card in their deck, which is usually not that big of a deal. It's one of the easier ones. And their main power is Big Feast. When the foe summons a unit granted +0/+2. I think Tahm Kench is one of the easier bosses in this adventure. And so on our mulligan phase, we don't want to keep Drop Border because we would like to see him in a prediction, so we're going to get rid of him. And then Fallen Feline is something we could keep. When it's summoned, it creates a Hexite Crystal, and then when you predict, you can kind of predict it and move it in different directions in your deck. So the sooner you play Fallen Feline, the easier it is to get your Hexite Crystal. Hexite Crystal is very good. If it's seen in a prediction, you draw it. It costs 2, you deal 2 to enemies in the enemy Nexus. It's a good spell, just generally. But we don't have our champion, so we're going to reroll. And so that's the same for everything here. Amateur Aeronaut, I just don't love, and again, we don't have our champion. Time Winder, I would probably keep normally. It has +2 damage, so we have the ability to do 3 damage to 2 targets. But because we don't have our champion, we're going to reroll. And we get what we get. Still didn't find our champion, so the cards that we have access to play right now are Time Winder, and we can do this at any time because we have 3 spell mana, and this will do 3 damage to things. As I said before, we have Amateur Aeronaut, which again I said I didn't love, and we have Veteran Investigator, which we're going to play because we don't have our champion and we want to draw 1 card. So we get him down, we draw the Drop Border, which we did not want to see, it's fine, and we attack because they have no blockers and we can't do anything else. I could drop the Drop Border with Time Winder, but there's no reason to do that when there's no units on the board, and we could make more use of it later. Now, for our next turn, we have Fallen Feline, which, like I said, you want to get down early. So we could do Fallen Feline, Amateur Aeronaut, and then Time Winder to remove this unit and then do 3 damage to the Nexus. I think that's a fine play, but I still want to get to my champion, so I'm going to play Practical Perfectionist, which does play Predict and then also draws a card because of Philosopher's Stone. And it creates 3 copies of the chosen card in your deck. And ideally, we would have hit Ekko, but we didn't. We see a Drop Border in the prediction, so it gets summoned, and now we have a 5/5 on board, and then we also have this Veteran Investigator here, so we have a choice between Veteran Investigator and Iterative Improvement. Either choice is probably fine, it doesn't matter too much. I think my snap judgment choice would be Veteran Investigator, but the thing is I can create a Veteran Investigator with Iterative Improvement or another Practical Perfectionist, so this is probably the better pick. It also costs us basically no mana because we have sorcery, So I'm going to take Iterative Improvement, which we're going to draw. You could also skip there, and then you have a chance of drawing a different card. We're going to Iterative Improvement on Practical Perfectionist so we can play it later. It is going to die, and we could have saved it by using Time Winder instead, but I don't really want to discard a card right now, so I chose not to do that. I'm going to play Practical Perfectionist for the same reason we did before. We're going to draw cards, and we're going to draw a Time Trick because it predicts and draw a card. Also, predicting helps your Ekko level up. You need 4 predictions, and then he levels up. So the more you predict, the better. We find Ekko, we take him. We always want our champion. I don't think I need to explain that too much. Your champion is usually your win condition. Not always. Depends on the deck. And we're going to drop Amateur Aeronaut, I think. Or we could do Fallen Feline and Drop Border. Amateur Aeronaut has Elusive here, though. So we're just going to be able to attack and do some damage to the enemy Nexus without being blocked. And then we could attack with everything if we wanted, but our stat line versus their stat line isn't very good. So if we play this, you're just going to block it with like the 2-4 or the 2-6, and then we're going to lose a unit and not kill a unit. This has Ephemeral, it's dead anyway, so it's just going to block, let's say, the 6 here. So my guess is they would block 2-4 to 3-2, 2-4 to 6-5, and 2-6 to 5-3, and then I still only do 2 damage, but my units are worse off afterwards, and I think that's a bad plan. So I'm just going to attack with the 2. And I could play Iterative Improvement if I wanted, probably again on the Practical Perfectionist, so that we can do our final predict to level up Ekko. I could also just do nothing, and that's fine, but I think I'm going to spend the card. They're going to drop Tahm Kench. Oh, so this is going to be a long one. I don't know if I said that in the beginning. It's going to be very long. Because I'm explaining my moves. Also, I don't even know if we're going to win. So, Tahm Kench has Regeneration. This came as a result of the Unstable Inventory. He doesn't normally have it. And the same reason why Krusty Codger got Shadow Totem. Here, we have the choice of what to do. I think just playing Ekko is fine. He'll strike, level up, and then nothing on the board can kill him, so he's safe to play. Your other option is just wait until they attack. Choose blockers based on that, and then drop Ekko after, so he can't be, and nothing bad can happen, but they don't have mana, so they can't capture us. If they did, they could, and just having Ekko on the board is probably good, and sooner probably better, and they decide not to attack. Whenever your opponent doesn't attack you and they have the attack token, you should end round. That is my best advice for you. I'm not going to take my own advice, and I'm going to play Time Trick instead, so I can level up Ekko. And also, I'm just not worried about their attack anyway. If for any reason I was worried about their attack, I wouldn't do that. I play Time Trick again. So when you play Time Trick, you're trying to get to something like Chrono Break. Or ideally the other spell, Parallel Convergence. So this is a card that's created when you play Ekko's champion spell. It is created somewhere in your deck, and when you play it you get a free attack with an ephemeral copy of all of your allies. It's maybe the strongest attack in the game, but we're just going to pass here. Could have played the Chrono Break, it would have been fine. Now I'm going to open attack, and then if they manage to kill our units, that's fine, because we have Chrono Break and they'll come back to life. Now we can also play this Time Trick for free now that we're leveled. We pick up another Chrono Break, so now we have 2 revives. I'm going to play Chrono Break. Nothing died, but it'll still give us Rally. And we attack again, and this should be winning. And of course, if this didn't win, we would Chrono Break again, get these units back, and attack again. We also have the 2 Time Winders to do 6 extra damage. That's one fight, there's 12. So, because we're not level 20 yet, we don't have access to the draw champion at round start. So taking extra copies of your champion is good. I don't really love Arcane Knowledge on it because our hand is typically kind of full anyway. And we're adding cards but it's still going to be the best choice because you do need to draw your champion. And to be honest, I didn't even look at the other choices, which I should have, because the whole point of this is to tell you what I'm thinking. But what I'm thinking is that I didn't even look at the other choices. When you evaluate your support champion, it's usually best to just take one that is inexpensive or has inexpensive cards. So, and ideally that they do something as well, right? So stone weaving, we don't normally care about landmarks. It could be anything. There's a bunch of landmarks and most of them are bad. Rockhopper does create a Roiling Sands, which can give an enemy vulnerable. That isn't bad actually, and a 2 cost with 3 power so that it can block Fearsome isn't bad. We'd be kind of happy with that. Talia, we're not doing anything with landmarks again, so her power won't really help us. She'll drop and she costs 5. So we're almost never going to play her. Ideally the games will be ending before then. She will come at 8/8, which is nice, but overall I don't think that she matters. We're never going to be able to level her up. Next we have Nyla, who comes with Formless Blade. Formless Blade can't kill anything, so I think it's pretty bad. Manifesting a card, though, is pretty good. There are a lot of cards, and sometimes they're pretty good. Nyla has Vampiric Scepter, so we can get 2 life when we play her. That is a way to heal. You've drawn 15 cards. We are pretty capable of drawing 15 cards, so we could potentially level her up. And then also has Vikrosh, the Exuberant. So this would be a 6/2 for 3, and will give us a Slipstream. 6 power elusive's not bad, to be honest. But what I'm really looking at, I guess, is Katarina. So Katarina has a lot of ways to go infinite. Especially at low level, having ways to go infinite is good, because if you draw into an infinite combo, let's say you get Power Riff on her, we probably just win the game, especially with Quick Strike Blade. So when she plays, she just auto attacks, which makes her a little bit harder to remove. You have to remove her at fast speed or burst speed. She's not going to stick on the board. So, and then her power again is to, when she levels up, you get Rally every time you play her, and that is very strong. She has Leech and Saboteur with Strike, draw a card. I don't care about this too much, but Strike, draw a card might draw us into our champion, and Might is pretty good. So it's given ally +3/+0 and Overwhelm this round. Has Ardent Sensor. I don't know, whatever. I don't care about that. It's fine. It's just unpredictable and whatever. If it hits a good card, then it does a good thing, and if it doesn't, then maybe it's on something useless, and you never really get to take advantage of those stats anyway. You can't rely on the stats, so I think something like Ardent Sensor isn't... I consider it a non-power. And that's fine, some cards can have non-powers. But I'm going to take Katarina here because my goal is to eventually roll into some way to abuse this. And another thing to be thinking about is the first Blade's Edge that gets summoned will be free because our created cards cost 1 less. This is also true of the Manifest from the Yordle Portal. And like the Slipstreams, those would be cost reduced as well. So again, Nyla is fine. We could take Nyla here. I'm just hoping to cheat the game because I'm low level, and I'm going to do that with Katarina. Okay, choice between Jhin and Caitlyn. Jhin's probably slightly easier than Caitlyn. Again, I'm not going to go too deep into the whys of it, because I do have that full Aurelion Sol guide, which you can check out. Unyielding Determination, I think we can deal with. It's not a big deal. Perfected Mana Flow will give Caitlyn a lot of mana, and might be kind of punishing on her units pretty early because of that, so I think Jhin's better. Another thing to evaluate is these 3 things here. Item Chest is maybe middle ground of these choices. Stilted Robe Maker you never take, maybe if you're Vhagar, but otherwise you just never take it. Item Chest could give you a good item, usually won't, and Healer lets you remove a card, and card removal is very powerful because it slims up your deck, which makes it more likely that you draw your champion, and you can also get rid of cards that are not really helping your deck. I'm not actually too sure on Ekko's deck if there are too many cards like that, but like things that I normally cut would be like Amateur Aeronaut, because I just feel like that card doesn't do that much. And Yeah, so something like that. So we play our 2 units because we have 2 mana to play and we can't play the other ones. We can use Iterative Improvement on the cat, or if we wanted to on Legion Saboteur because of the strike. That wouldn't have been bad, we would have drawn cards, we're almost out of cards right now. But I just want to make more Hexite Crystals. I'm doing it on the cat, and then we're going to attack. We also have draw from Practical Perfectionist, and we're going to have a lot of draw as soon as Ekko hits the board. Now, one thing that will happen if we attack is that Jhin is going to get a Fleeting Blade's Edge, and it's going to kill the Legion Saboteur. Like, I just have to accept that that's a thing, and I think I'm willing to do that so that I can draw a card. And we drew Drop Border, which we never want to draw, but you know, whatever, it happens. Here, we have a choice between dropping Drop Border and Legion Saboteur. Or we can play Practical Perfectionist. I'm going to play Practical Perfectionist because I don't really care about these cards. They're not going to be doing too much for us in the immediate term. Maybe if we drop them for a full board later, and then we have Parallel Convergence. But I want to be drawing cards, and I also want to be predicting, so it just makes sense to drop the Practical Perfectionist. We saw a drop border, so it got added into play, and then we have Time Winder and Ekko. I'm going to take Ekko because we're going to be playing him soon. It'll also grow him in stats because we saw him in a prediction. So we can play this one instead of this other one, and that'll be better for us. And for our block, we just block with the healthiest thing because it'll stay alive, and then it's not going to die to a Blade's Edge next round when we attack. So I think that's all fairly straightforward. On round 3, they're unlikely to drop their Jhin because they can't afford it. And I don't know what else they have to play. They could do like a Mystic Shot or something and kill one of our units, but because our Ekko has 5 power, I'm not really worried about it. This one has 3 power, it would have been fine as well, or not power, health. So it has 5 health and 3 health. Either one survives a Mystic Shot. The one with 5 health obviously is going to be the one we're going to play, and it can survive like a Thermogenic Beam as well. I'm not sure if that's in Jhin's deck, it might be. And because of the strike, we do get to create a Time Trick, and because of Arcane Knowledge, we drew another Time Trick. They played Boom Crew Rookie, we're not worried about that at all in any way. And like I said with the Cold Shots, you can play them to put a Parallel Convergence into your deck, which you should do. And we drew Katarina. We're going to play the Time Trick. We got a Hexite Crystal because we saw it in a prediction, and we're going to take Ekko because Ekko becomes his Cold Shot. Cold Shot draws us a card, and then also puts Parallel Convergence in our deck, which is what we want to hit. Parallel Convergence is one of our win conditions. And then we just attack here. So this can't kill anything. What's going to happen is it's going to, let's say, block the 4-2, and then they'll Blade's Edge and kill it, and then Blade's Edge and do 1 damage to my Nexus, or they'll block the 7 just so they take less damage. Not sure which one. They block the 6. I didn't expect that, but it's fine. Doesn't really matter. And they're always going to send all those Blade's Edges as long as they have mana into your Nexus. So when they have the mana to play their champion, most likely they will. Sometimes they don't. Not sure what triggers that. And we have a 10-10, which none of our units will survive, but it's fine. We have plenty of units to block with. He's going to attack. We're going to block with something like Fallen Feline. He will not trigger a Lotus Trap because he's only at 1 of 3, but he'll get +1 points to that. And so we can decide if we want to play Katarina, strike him once, and then he probably won't attack if he blocks. It'll level up Katarina, so we can use her for rally later, or we can play Time Trick and Cold Shot to try to get to Parallel Convergence. I like the Parallel Convergence angle a little bit more, so I'm going to do that. But again, either option is fine. And then we always play these Cold Shots because it makes it more likely that we find Parallel Convergence, although we did not in this instance. Fine, we'll just block with our weakest unit. We have enough damage that if we attack, we just win the game. So we're going to attack and win the game. But if we didn't, I'd play Parallel or Called Shot again and look for Parallel Convergence. So for example, play Called Shot, and we have Parallel Convergence, so we can play that. We are losing a unit here. Looks like something might be getting stunned. Okay, so it's the same unit that we lost. And then we can just attack again, or Parallel Convergence again. Either way is fine. So you take a bit of Nexus damage just from all the Blade's Edge. You can play around that a little better by attacking with less things, or wait until they're out of mana to attack. I'm not overly concerned about it, so I just didn't worry about it. But, you know, that is a thing. So when you're evaluating our card rewards, I like to go with whatever is least expensive because it has the highest chance of being played. I almost never want to use rerolls on a card reward because they're better off for powers or champion item chests. Usually not on battle rewards. It's a card that you can remove later, or you can just not play it. And the worst that happens is I have like 2 bad cards in my deck. That's fine. It's better than losing out on a power that can make or break the entire game. So we try not to spend battle or rerolls on battle rewards. If they're really bad, like every card is a detriment, then maybe. So for me, again, we're looking at low cost units because we're never going to play the high cost unit. Ideally, if we get to the point where we're playing it, things have gone terribly wrong. Sometimes it happens. Normally, I would never take a champion because it reduces the chance that you'll draw your main champion if you have the level 20 power. But since we're not level 20 yet, we can take champions. Champions tend to just be good cards. Zilean also has Predict on it, which helps Ekko level up, and Time Bombs have Draw on them. And so overall, I'm probably going to take Zilean. It also has Frostbite, so we do a little bit of extra damage, which might help us remove some units if they have low health. So I think overall Zilean is the correct pick here. If I had the level 20 power, where I force draw a champion, I would take Reckless Trifarian. It does 7 damage for 3 mana, and it has Overwhelm. I'm for it. Especially with Parallel Convergence, we can do a lot of damage with that. But in this instance, I'm going to take Zilean. It gives me Predict, it gives me extra draw, and it's inexpensive. We can play it on round 1. I think it's just a good card. Like I said, we never go Stilted Roadmaker unless we're Vhagar, and then we probably still don't go Stilted Roadmaker, but you could. And so at the healer, we have a choice to heal, purchase healing, or remove a card. We're missing 5 hit points, so we're 30 out of 35. So if we heal, we'll get our 5 health, which means we're not going to purchase healing because we would still get our 5 health. The cost of purchasing healing is half of your max health, so 35 divided by 2 is 17.5 times 10 is this cost. And then cutting a card, like I said before, is extremely powerful. You have bad cards in your deck, although not really. This deck's actually pretty sweet. Normally you have bad cards in your deck that you want to get rid of. And getting rid of those bad cards makes your deck better. I still think you should remove a card even if your cards are mostly good because you have good cards and you have better cards. And I'm going to pick Amateur Aeronaut because I hate Amateur Aeronaut. I just think it doesn't do enough for its cost. And everything else has draw in it, basically. So, except for these two, but this guy can play for free and this guy makes Hexite Crystals. So, I'm going to get rid of Amateur Aeronaut. It is our only elusive blocker, and that is something to consider, getting rid of my only elusive. If we get hit by a bunch of elusives, I'm going to feel pretty dumb about removing it, but, you know, I'm willing to take that risk. Our choice of Fiora or Swain. Fiora is definitely harder than Swain. And Scribe of Sorrows is one of the best nodes in the game. Spells chest, you might get an okay spell. Scribe of Sorrows will give you 3 mana. And we want 3 mana. The Swain's power is Suffer. Round start, deal 1 to all the player's damage units, and it has unstable inventory, so they'll get a random card. One of the most powerful tools in Legends of Runeterra is knowing what your opponent has, and unstable inventory makes it so you don't know what your opponent has on its cards, and so it's a little I mean, you lose knowledge and you will be surprised at some of the things that happen, which isn't great, but I think it's still fine. Here, for our starting hand, we have Ekko, which we love. We have Zillion, which we can play on round 1, like I said. We have Might, which is a very strong combat trick, and we have Legion Saboteur. I think all of these cards are fine, but I would still probably get rid of Might and Legion Saboteur. This leaves us, because we're going to play Zillion on round 1, and we can draw into some of the other spells like Time Trick or Time Winder, which might have a little bit better of an effect. We did draw the drop order, which unfortunate. If I pass here, I don't think they play a card. They might... I don't know. They might have like a 1 cost that they could play, but it also just wastes 2 mana if we don't, and then they play nothing. And if it's a 1 cost, I'm not really worried about it anyway. So we're going to drop Zillion here, and we can take Ekko. And there's the 1 cost. So I'm going to attack, and then hope that they block. They didn't block. I could kill it with Time Winder, but it's probably best to save for next round. At most, it's going to be doing like 2 damage, and we don't really care about that. I'm going to Time Winder here and kill both of these units. I don't want to be attacked, and this will save us some damage. We will take 1 damage from Legion Grenadier dying. That's fine. Better than taking... You're going to take that damage eventually anyway, and I don't want to see it. We're going to play Katarina, because... can. She levels up, goes back to our hand, and we get the Blade's Edge for free, damage the Nexus. So here, because we have Stalker's Blade, what we would like to do is pass and let them play a card, but I'm not convinced that they'll play a card, because there's nothing on their board right now, and just burning my turn in 7 mana is something that the AI will sometimes do. They might not. I don't know for sure, is the thing. One way we can kind of test them is attack. If we attack, since they're no longer at risk, they'll definitely play a unit if they have one that they can play. Downside is that we won't get to attack with Ekko, which I would like to do, but I think it's kind of worth it if we can Stalker's Blade kill whatever they play. So we attack, they play a unit, we play Ekko, kill the unit, and we're not dependent on doing damage with Ekko. We can still Time Trick and Predict. And we can play a Called Shot, and that's still a valuable usage of our mana. We made use of all of our mana. They play City Breaker, and we have a lot of options here. So I think it's unlikely that they attack us because their unit will die into our unit, and the opponent doesn't like losing units for no reason. So again, unlikely that they'll do that. We can test them by playing a Legion Saboteur or a Time Bomb. If we play that, it gives them back the attack token, or not the attack token, the, I don't know, it's your turn token, and then they'll either choose to attack us or not attack us. So I'll play Time Bomb. Okay, they chose not to attack us, as expected, and then we can drop Katarina, which will give us Rally, and then she attacks. If we wanted, and they blocked, we could have used Might, but they didn't block, so it's fine. We just get to attack here, and we can use Might on Ekko, which is probably the better usage anyway. And then we'll just Blade's Edge the Nexus, because we're out of mana otherwise. And then Time Bomb goes off, we win the game. So these are the kinds of things that I'm just processing all of the time, and I am so familiar with the game that it doesn't actually take time to think about it. It's just you get into habits and patterns. Sometimes you do the wrong thing because of those habits and patterns. For our next card reward, something to keep in mind is spells are usually better than units, especially since we have access to sorcery, so we always have 3 more mana for spells than we do for units. So I didn't even look at the other 2. I'm going to pick Shunpo. It does 2 damage and it rallies. Rally is really good for us because we do attack a lot. We spells and we're also attacks. So I'm going to take Shunpo, not even looking at the other 2, but if you did want to evaluate the other 2, what you would see is you have a 5 cost, which you're probably never going to play. It also is fine, I guess, but it's a 5 cost 3/2. Like, that's kind of bad. It does create a Risen Reckoner, which, honestly, not better. This card is very bad. I guess it makes it so something can't block, but it's very bad. And then you have Station Archivist, but because of Resplendent Plate Armor, it costs 6. It'd be a 6 cost, 10, 9, which isn't terrible. And the effect of it is actually pretty good. Copying a spell in the top 5 cards of your deck is good. But we're still just going to go with Rally. This costs 6. Ideally, we never play it. And I say ideally because sometimes you'll play it. Alright, so this is an interesting thing. So we have a healer here, so we can remove a card. I think the card we are actually most likely to remove is probably the Shunpo we just picked up. Or maybe something like Fallen Feline or Legion Saboteur, one of these 1 costs. But again, our deck is pretty good. His deck is nice, actually, which is honestly strange. There's usually at least a couple cards you can get rid of. So there's that as an option. We also have the shop. So at the shop, a epic power costs 400, the rare power costs 300, the common power costs 200, and if you should happen to stumble upon a legendary power, it costs 500. So normally at Scribe of Sorrows, we spend all of our gold on the power for 1 temporary mana gem, and I think we're definitely going to do that at least once. So we have 600. This could buy us a legendary power still, and then I'm going to spend it again. This sets us so if we find a legendary power, so let's say duplicate is in that shop, we're going to be very sad. And now the question is, do we take the last mana gem? Almost always my answer is yes to this, but because we have that shop right there, and 4 mana lets us play Ekko anyway, and we also have sorcery, I'm probably gonna skip it, which I normally would almost never do. Can also increase your health and knowledge, but whatever. Also, Scribe of Sorrows increase in cost by double every time that you purchase one, so usually the most you can get out of that is 3. And you can usually get 3. You usually have enough gold to afford that. It's one of the best nodes in the game. It's very strong. So we're gonna go to the shop now, and look at the power first. Our power is Evolve. We're going to buy it because I don't think it's going to hurt us too much to have it. Our units do have keywords, and we also add keywords to things, so we might be able to trigger Evolve at some point. And as for other cards, I almost never take anything, so I'm going to keep with that. Again, you don't want to dilute the cards because you do want to draw your champion, and secondly, most cards aren't good enough to put in your deck. Occasionally, you'll see one that's incredible, and you'll pick it up, something super defensive, like if you have, I don't know, Ruination with Chalice of Harmony. So it costs 6, and then you can play it on round 2, and it clears the entire enemy board. That could be worth taking. If you have like a good stun power on a champion like Yasuo, who cares about stuns, that might be worth taking. If you have something with Health Potion on an expensive card like Reckoning here, this is maybe worth taking if your health has been an issue, which we haven't had that problem yet. I don't think we're going to, but it could. Like a lot of times having healing is really good. But Reckoning is not a card good enough for us to take. If it was on Sandstorm, I might consider taking it. Sandstorm is 9 cost, obliterate 3 units. It's such a good card. But nothing here inspires me. Could spend rerolls, but never do that. But yeah, you could better off rerolling the power, and it's better off spending the reroll for the power nodes, where you have 3 choices rather than the shop nodes where you have 1. Then we're going to go into Ezreal, and honestly this might end our journey because he has level up, so game start the foe shuffles 2 champions into their deck, they cost 1 less, and then his power is that his spells cost 1. He creates a fleeting static shock at the start of the round if he levels up a champion, which will always be leveled up because he has level up. Then he's going to have a fleeting True Shot Barrage instead, and this is going to be difficult to deal with. I'm going to keep Time Wander here. I can use it defensively, maybe, and keep Katarina because we can also use her to win the game. And I'm going to get rid of Practical Perfectionist because we already have Ekko, and I'm not super concerned about it. And we got it right back anyway, so it doesn't matter. And, okay, so it looks like it doesn't count as leveling up by just starting with them, so that's nice. If we play Ekko, it's going to get targeted by Static Shock, and if we get targeted 8 times, Ezreal levels up. We don't want that to happen. So we have to pass here until they spend the Static Shock. They'll probably attack us at the same time. We're going to take 3 damage. We take 3 damage as expected, and now we're going to drop Ekko to kill the Eager Apprentice. And we're going to play his time trick immediately. It's the best option. The other choice was Time Winder, which we're not going to be using because they have no units on the board. We're going to hold it to kill Ezreal next round. And then we can take more copies of Ekko because Ekko turns into Cult Shot, which we do want to play. We can always use all of our mana because of sorcery. It's just going to refill to full anyway, so no reason to hold it. So here you have a lot of choices. They're going to play Static Shock and they're going to play Ezreal. I know that. I think that happens regardless of what I do. I think if I hit pass here, they put down Ezreal. I'm not like 100%, but like 95% sure that'll happen. So a thing we could do is play Katarina now. She'll come down. If we do that, we're probably going to eat the Static Shock on Ekko and Katarina, which would be fine, but it does give them 2 progress points to Ezreal's level up. We could play another unit, but if we do that, then we can't play Katarina, which is our best unit. We also have Practical Perfectionist, which could copy something like Time Trick, or Called Shot, or Parallel Convergence. All of those would be better choices than, you know, playing one of these other units. So these guys are just not going to happen. We're not playing those. We do have Shunpo. If they play a unit, we can Shunpo and then rally and attack again, but we can do the same every round if we get Katarina on the board. So I think the most important thing is to get Katarina on the board, and I think it's worth just attacking here. I'll attack, they're going to Static Shock, then they're going to drop Ekko, and then I can attack with Katarina, see if they block with Ekko. If they don't, I Time Winder and kill Ekko and do Nexus damage. So I attacked, got hit with the Static Shock, like I said. I dropped Ekko, like I said. I forgot that his stats were doubled. Oops, my bad. I dropped Katarina. He'll definitely block now because he has more stats than Katarina can deal damage. We're going to Blade's Edge the Nexus, and we're also going to play Time Winder here to kill Ezreal. I think I've been saying Ekko instead of Ezreal, but it's fine. We're going to drop this cat and then just do damage. And Katarina levels up. We can play Time Trick, taking Ekko. And here they get to start, so they have a kill. That does cost them all their mana, so that's nice. Having a kill, not super great for us. We're just going to have to eat this damage. And we can't remove it because it has 14 hit points. We don't have a way to stun, so this is kind of like an ongoing problem now. We're going to start with Called Shot. If we can draw into Parallel Convergence, then I'm less worried about it. And because we have Parallel Convergence, I'm not going to drop Katarina here. I just want a big board so that I have more units that will free attack when we play Parallel Convergence. So we can drop Legion Saboteur, and then we're just eating this. It's Overwhelm anyway, there's no point in blocking. If we block, we'll lose a unit and then only have saved either 2 or 1 damage. That's what I mean by no point in blocking. See, overexplaining is really hard. And then we have a choice between Veteran Investigator or Practical Perfectionist. Practical Perfectionist costs 3, so we're gonna drop that instead. Thought I had mana for Parallel Convergence. Did I not? I was like certain I did. Whatever. I should play Parallel Convergence then. My bad. If we do anything, they're going to Static Shock and kill the Legion Saboteur and deal 1 to us. Probably. They usually don't like to damage units that aren't going to die. And they also have access to, I think Rocket Barrage is what it's called, does 5 damage to something and then 2 damage to everything else. So if they play those cards, we're going to take a lot of damage. I think It's fine just opening with Parallel Convergence here. And there's a static. That strike actually helps us a lot in terms of just removing Kale. We could Might here, but we can also just attack with Ekko and Might, and that's a little bit better. And this Kale is dead in the future. We play new Ezreal, that's fine. We don't have a Parallel Convergence. Oh look, now we do. So we could Parallel Convergence again, Ekko will strike, killing Ezreal, and then the Practical Perfectionist probably kills Kale, or they just don't block. Either way is fine with me. Yeah, so they just didn't block. And they played Ahri, which I'm less happy about. I'm gonna take Time Winder here. I'm playing fast. I'm not explaining all the choices of what I'm predicting. Have we reached my limit of being able to explain things? We're gonna attack. We don't have mana for Might, but we do have Time Winder, so we should be able to kill both of these units here, or just kill the Nexus if they don't block. So they block with both. Time Winder, dropping Veteran Investigator because we don't need to draw cards. And we're going to hit Ahri to kill her, and also the Nexus. And we're going to play Time Trick, taking Chrono Break because it gives us Rally. That was the only choice because of that. There were other things on the board, not important. Okay, now I'm slowing down a little bit. I'm recovering. They have a unit on the board, they have Static Shock. I don't think they're going to play anything else. They could potentially play an Ezreal if they had an extra one. We can rally if we play Katarina, which is probably what I'm going to do, and it might force them to block. Also, they can Static Shock 2 units now. Also, I burnt my Katarina because my hand was full. I thought I had one space. I guess I did, but it got filled up with the Blade's Edge. So, that's not great, but we can just attack here and this should win the game. You're going to Static Shock us, of course, but we have Might. So we just do enough damage and win. Chrono Break's a good card, but since we only had one unit that wasn't dead, reviving that would have done nothing. We still would have gotten the rally and we still could have attacked with Might, but not as good. So, pop quiz, what's the best choice here? And there's only one choice. Alright, while you're thinking about that, I'll explain some general concepts. You always want to take a power or an item on your main champion, and I say always, that's not actually always true, but it's true more often than not. It's true enough that I can say always, but if you're really depending on your support champion for some reason, you just got like a cracked support champion, then that's fine too. So for example, if we saw Power Riff on Katarina, we'd probably take that, because we could just attack infinite amount of times. That is one of the only exceptions that we would ever make. Even if it was like -2 cost on Katarina, we might still take it. And then try to find another -2 cost later, just so we could be infinite. But here we have, but aside from that, you always want to take on your main champion. So what we're going to take is blue buff on Ekko, and the reason is that we have Stalker's Blade, so every time we make a copy of Ekko, which we can do with Parallel Convergence or Chrono Break, we're going to get spell mana back, which will roll us into using more Time Tricks, more Chrono Breaks, and more Parallel Convergences. So this is actually an incredible power that we picked up here, and should help us a lot throughout the rest of the adventure. You can look ahead, by the way. So you can see, like, Katarina is here with Duplicate, that's going to be a difficult node, and Aurelion Sol has Perfected Mana Flow, which is also going to be pretty difficult. But you could potentially lose at any of those points, it's fine. For a power, if you see 3 commons and you have 4 rerolls, you're going to hit reroll. Crush is actually okay here. Having Overwhelm will help us do damage to the enemy Nexus. If we can do more damage to the enemy Nexus, then, you know, it'll die. Dragon's Rage, when you summon an ally, grant it Fury. That's not bad, especially with Stalker's Blade. We can definitely get some value out of it, but we have rerolls, and like I said, there are better powers. And then we have Duelist, which when you summon an ally, give it Challenger this round. Doesn't super matter. I don't know, maybe in a different deck it might be more important. If you're summoning a lot of things in a round, it could potentially be really useful, but we're not in that situation. So if I had to pick from here, I'd pick Crush. We reroll though. Perfection is insane. I'm not sure how much it does on this deck specifically, but making everything 4 at least is just ridiculous. So if we take Drop Porter, he becomes 4-3. You take Fallen Feline, it becomes 4-2. Legion Saboteur becomes 4, and then also does 4 damage on attack. Time Trick goes from... Actually, not Time Trick. Time Winder goes from doing 3 damage because of +2 to 4 damage, which isn't like that big of a upgrade, but it's still more than 0. Zillion, Frost Spikes are now doing 4 damage. Katarina, her Blade's Edge, does 4 damage. And Shunpo goes from doing 2 damage to 4 damage. So if I saw this, I'd be like, obviously we're taking Perfection, because obviously we're taking Perfection. Now you have Lethality, which does 1 extra damage to the enemy's nexus from all sources. That's less than 4 damage. It works in a different way, but doesn't really impact us, and we don't really have spells or skills, so having them do 1 extra damage when 4 extra damage is a thing is, you know, worse. There are still powers I would take over Perfection for Ekko. If I were Jinx, I would snap this up and never look back, but you know, different champions play differently. For Ekko, if I saw Perfected Mana Flow, I would probably take that instead, or maybe even Wild Inspiration, where created cards cost 1 less, reducing them by 2 could roll us into an infinite combo, and that's kind of what we're looking to do. But again, with rerolls, there's always a chance you can do better, but there's a more common chance that you'll do worse. So if you see something that's really good, you take it. Unless you're the gambling type, in which case do whatever you want. So between Gangplank and Poppy, I think Poppy's a little bit easier. Grows 1 unit really big, but it has level up, so growing that 1 unit really big, if it's a champion, could be very bad for us. So I think I'm going to go Gangplank. They're about the same difficulty. Gangplank does a little more burn damage. Poppy's a little more straightforward. I think both of them are on the easier side, but anything in this adventure that has level up becomes on the harder side. So I would always avoid that if possible, but since they both had it, I didn't have the choice. So our reroll. We could keep Time Trick if we wanted. It lets us predict and draw 1. That's actually fine. We don't have our champion, we want our champion, so we're rerolling everything else. There's no other consideration. That's it. You could keep Veteran Investigator if you really wanted, because it does draw a card, so playing it is the same as holding it or re-rolling it, except that it costs you 2 extra mana and gives you a unit. So we got 2 Zillions, which not exactly what we were going for. If we play Zillion now, it'll kill Fizz, but not... But they still have 2 mana, so they'll probably play something else. I'm just gonna play Time Trick here and take Time Winder. I can definitely use this to kill things later because of Perfection. It'll do 4. And we'll pass, let them play a card. So they just attacked us. Problem with Fizz is that he can fizzle your spells, so I don't know if I'm safe to play Time Winder. So I'm probably just not going to, because if I lose the Time Winder, then it will have felt bad. And we play the other Time Trick, taking Ekko, because we want Ekko. And because they didn't play a card, I'm pretty sure they're not going to. Which means I probably just drop Practical Perfectionist, and let's take the other Ekko. You could also potentially leave them in to just cycle more. Okay, so they didn't play a card so that they could play Black Market Merchant. That was the whole thing. We're in a situation now where we want to play Zillion, but they have mana, so same situation as last time. And we can just attack here as a passing move, and then they'll probably use Make It Rain on us, but they might not. And then they'll play a card. And I still think they have another card they can play, but at this point, I'm not willing to risk it. I'm going to drop Zillion. You get our free drop border. I'm going to take Legion Saboteur because the 4 damage is pretty good. And then we clear out their board, and it looks like they don't have anything left, which is good. That means we didn't mess up. Not sure exactly how this spell works. We're going to use it on an Ekko. Okay, we didn't predict our Ekko, so we just skip. And then we should draw our Ekko next round. I think I didn't get a card because I didn't pick any of the cards. That's fine though. Leona comes down, stuns us. Not a big deal. We're just going to block with the 4-2. Or actually, we don't get to choose because Leona has Challenger and Barrier. So we're just going to let that happen. We lose our Rocket Border. Not a big deal. We play Ekko. I'm going to play the spell first, but I kind of don't want to drop anything that I have. And yeah, now we have Ekko in play. We're going to play Time Trick. Taking Chrono Break. So we can revive our dead units and rally. It'd be nice if we could rally before we do that, but we can't. But we'll rally now anyway. And we're going to attack with everything except for Ekko. Because if we attack with Ekko, he's going to die. We just kind of don't want that to happen. They have a Dreadway in hand, but they can't play it. They're probably going to play a Gangplank. Like, almost certainly. I'd put that at like a 99. And we're just going to drop our Legion Saboteur here. This gives us 4 damage. And we can challenge the Powder Keg with Overwhelm. So we do 6 damage plus 4 damage. We have 10 damage. They can't do anything about that. If we also attack with the rest of our units, they're going to block 2, but they still take 4. So that's 14 damage. They die. We also have Time Winder to do extra damage and Might to do extra damage. So we have a lot of ways to do a lot of damage, and this is our best option. Could play Katarina to do 6 and 4. We also have Time Winder to do 4 and 4, but we don't like have a way to roll into any of our other powers. Also, Ekko is not going to die because he has 8 power and they have 8 health, and he has quick attack. So we win regardless, and we can win in a bunch of ways, and that strike will give us the Time Trick, which we need to start looking for other win solutions anyway, so it had to be an attack there. I think we're an hour in and we've done 5 out of 12 fights. So all of these cards are bad, except kind of Death Lotus does 4 damage to all battling units. That could be useful. It also breaks Spell Shield. Spirit Fire's okay. -2 to all enemies isn't bad, can save you, 12 damage. And then can potentially kill them at the end. It's also a spell, so you can play it on like round 3 on average. We could play it round 1 because of the power we took, Scribe of Sorrows. But I don't know. I think Death Lotus doing 4 is just a little bit better. Should clear out most of the things, and it only costs 2. I would never... I don't want to say never. Predicting is good for us, so if this was the best option, I would take it, but it's just not. Again, spells, generally speaking, are better than units. We have Ashe with Power Overwhelming. This stacks up really fast, but we're killing pretty fast, so it's not that bad. And Sejuani does about nothing. So I think Sejuani is probably the easier option. At the champion item chest, I don't love any of these. It might be worth a reroll, but they're not bad. Okay, I shouldn't say again they're not bad, because I didn't say they weren't bad to start with. These powers aren't bad except Radiant Plate Armor, which I wouldn't take. It's okay sometimes, but I don't want my things to cost more. We have Spell Shield and Regeneration, which Spell Shield is good. Saves you from a lot of things. And Shadow Totem will make an extra copy. So if we play Ekko with Shadow Totem, then we're going to strike twice. It'll give us mana back on both strikes, but obviously that doesn't matter because, we can't hold 6 spell mana. But it will also give us 2 time tricks, which we can then use. So that is a good effect of that. Spell Shield is the other thing that we are considering. It can protect us from all sorts of trouble. But I think Shadow Totem is just better here. It gets us the second Stalker's Blade effect. So these aren't, again, not bad powers, except for Radiant Plate Armor, which if you have like a 1 cost, if you have like Teemo, it's fine. Or if you, for some reason, just have a lot of mana. it's also fine. +3/+3 is pretty good for 1. That's not bad. Just, I don't know. You just don't want your champions to cost more because you want them on the board. Yeah, so this is what I would do. But I kind of wish there was a different option. But Shadow Totem's pretty good. And again, Sejuani I think is easier than Power Overwhelming Ash. Creeping Chill is really frustrating. And Sejuani's Power, which is Endure, which just gives units +1/+1, is like, whatever, who cares. We start with our champion, which is great, and then I think we want to roll into, I don't know, Time Tricks, probably. We could keep Katarina if we wanted, but I don't think it's going to be necessary. I meant to reroll her, I just didn't. If I pass, they'll probably play a card. But if they don't play a card, then I can't play Ekko next round. I would really like to play Ekko next round. Or, I would really like to play him before next round. So the safest thing to do would be to play him, and then they'll drop Ruthless Raider. I don't know if I pass if they drop Ruthless Raider. Oh, they did Protoporo instead. I'm gonna play Called Shot. Because we're gonna get mana back when we attack, and we're gonna attack because they only have 1 blocker, so they're gonna take 5 damage. Fine with. There's Ruthless Raider. Knew it was coming. Take Ekko. So our predictions are going to be Ekko is the most important thing. So if you see me take Ekko, it's just because, you know, it's the most important thing. We can just skip here. If it's not a card you want, you can just skip. It's fine. You still draw a card. It'll just be not one of those cards. And here, these guys have 2 health. I always say power when I mean health. I'm trying to be kind of intentional about not doing that. They have 2 health. We can drop Zillion and kill them. Potentially they still have another unit they could drop, but I don't know, and I don't want to take 8 damage. We're going to drop Zillion, we get our free drop border, and we can predict Legion Saboteur or Time Bomb. I pick Saboteur because it does a little bit more damage. Time Bomb's not bad. So here's the other unit. If we had waited, we would have been able to kill that as well, but they might have just attacked us before dropping it. So there's no way of knowing. We're going to play Careful Preparation on Called Shot. And then we don't predict anything we want. We could take a Time Bomb anyway. Probably fine. And we can drop that Time Bomb. And we'll go off next turn killing that guy. We can attack. This should win the game. Alright, we're getting a little faster now that the basics are down. And hopefully this won't take 2 hours. I didn't plan for 2 hours. Alright, card choices. You can stack cards if you want to get rid of them at the healer. So we already have Iterative Improvement in our deck. If we take another copy of Iterative Improvement, we can remove it and then it will remove all of the copies. That is a very powerful tool that we use sometimes. In this case, we probably don't really want to get rid of Iterative Improvement because it's just kind of good. It's not like the best thing ever, and adding Slipstream to it I actually don't think helps too much, but it's fine. That's probably what I'm going to do. In Battering Ram, we talked about this earlier, just costs too much to be playable, although with Frost Spikes makes it a little bit more appealing. And then we have Howling Gale, which will do 4 damage and up to 5 damage. And it creates a 1/1, which can also do 4 damage, so it's not bad. I'm between these 2 cards, but I'm going to take Iterative Improvement. For the Slipstream, we can Slipstream into our champion since we're not guaranteed to draw him. At the shop, again, we just don't take cards, mostly. Unyielding Spirit's okay, but with Anti-Up, we could just lose it. We don't want any of the other cards. I don't know that I can fully express why we don't want other cards, aside from just saying, you want to draw your champion. Like, is Kahiri with Power Rift fine? We can probably play him for free. He does predicting stuff. Like, yeah, that's fine, but like, is it better than drawing Ekko? No. Herald of the Magus doesn't do anything unless you have landmarks, so obviously we're not taking that. Because we don't... I guess we do have landmarks, but not really. Grizzled Ranger just doesn't do enough, and you don't want to spend rerolls again. Iron Ballista is actually kind of okay, but Again, would we rather draw Ekko? The answer is yes. Unyielding Spirit's the only thing that I would even consider. Broadback Protector if we were having hit point problems can solve that for you a little bit. Early Bird summons our weakest follower, which is Legion Saboteur. That's actually kind of awesome. We're going to take that because it's kind of awesome. Also, we want to save our rerolls for this power node up here, rather than using it early. Misfortune plays a lot of units and then kind of doesn't have anything to do, so you'll take a lot of damage on like round 1 or 2, but then you're going to be fine because she's going to be out of cards. Jinx has a lot of removal and makes a full board, but is otherwise not really that scary. I prefer spells to item chest, I guess. I don't know. I think Misfortune's a little bit easier, and I don't really care about either of these rewards. The rewards I care about most are Champion Item Chest, Shop, Power Nodes, stuff like Scribe of Sorrows, which was over here, and Smooth Soloist are kind of what I'm looking for when I'm doing pathing. Gold chest, item chest, spells chest. I don't really care about a lot of the random weird ones. I don't care about. They just aren't doing enough, like Stilted Roadmaker. Whatever, means nothing to me. And so that's kind of how I decide pathing. Depending on how strong the champion is, I'll choose pathing based on the reward after. If it's a weaker champion, I'll choose based on which node I think is easier. And I think we could beat either of these fine, and then just go into Katarina and also beat her fine. So I'm going to take Misfortune because I think it's going to be a little bit easier than Jinx, because she just burns herself out, and I don't think the Perfected Mana Flow is going to do that much for her, because she already just runs out of cards. She has a lot of low-cost cards, so, yeah, it's not... her problem isn't usually mana. We could keep one Time Wander here to get rid of 2 of her units, because that's definitely coming. And we keep Ekko. I would like to see Zillion, because that'll also be a board clear. But if that doesn't happen, we have Time Winder as kind of our backup. And so we have a 10-10 Misfortune. We can actually just kill by playing Ekko. And we did waste the blue buff there, because we already had full spell mana, but we didn't have a spell that we could play at that time that would have made sense. We take Ekko, because Ekko is our top priority, and then we can play Cold Shot to get Parallel Convergence in, because that's really what our top priority is. Here we have the choice to play a unit or attack. If we play a unit, they're going to play a blocker for sure, so we're just going to attack, otherwise we're kind of just spinning our wheels, which we don't want to do. And we're doing a reasonable amount of damage too. We can... there's so many choices. And we have too many cards in our hand. We're going to play Time Trick, trying to get to an Ekko to get to Cold Shot. And we play Cold Shot, trying to get to Parallel Convergence. We don't find it. We do need to get cards out of our hand. So if we play Katarina here, which would be good for next round, she's just going to burn herself because we don't have hand space to hold her Blade's Edge power. So we just need to play cheap spells. We could also play this Cold Shot, but we don't really have mana to go anywhere after that. So I'm going to play Fallen Feline here. And then I'm also going to play Drop Border. And then this just gives me less cards in my hand. So how you determine what you're playing now is based on what they have available to them. If they attack, do we care? Is kind of the question that we're asking. If they attack with all of these, we can kill all of these, and we'll still have Ekko left over, and I think that's fine. So I don't need to worry about their board right now. If they play something later, I may need to worry about it, but right now it's not a problem. So I could play something like Legion Saboteur, or I could play Katarina. I think Saboteur is a little bit safer. Still gives us room to play Cold Shot and Time Winder, and Time Winder might save us from one of those potential problems later. I could also play Iterative Improvement, but it makes an extra card in my hand, and I don't really want to do that right now. Outer Monkey is still nothing we're worried about. They are going to attack with it though, before they end their round, which is also something good to know. If they have ephemerals, they'll almost always attack with them before they end round. So yeah, you just know that you can pass back and they'll do something. We're going to play Cold Shot, and we're going to play Cold Shot. We're going to play Perfectionist, looking for Parallel Convergence. We don't find it, so we can skip here. And then we'll pass. Okay, we get hit with the Parlay. They have a full board. And here they attack us with the Powder Monkey, as expected. You can take Zillion, it'll clear their entire board out next round. Then we pass. And we do draw an Ekko, but we already had one, so it was fine anyway. Drop Zillion to clear the board. We can skip here, we don't really want any of those cards. They'll play something. We can play mana because when we drop Ekko, we're gonna make mana. We're gonna make mana. Drop Veteran Investigator because we don't want them to have cards, and then Time Winder, getting rid of their unit, and then also doing some damage. We can just attack here and win, or we could drop Ekko, whatever, it doesn't matter. Attacking's probably better. Whenever you can win the game, you should win the game. Unless you're stalling for healing or something. But winning the game is usually pretty good. More copies of Ekko is correct. So we're going to take that. And then that kind of nullifies the other choices. So that's how we make that decision. Spells chest. Elixir of Sorcery on a card that we can mass produce is good. Also because of Perfection, this is a 1 cost 8 damage spell. I normally never take spells. I'm taking this one. At the healer, we determine if we need health. We're only missing 4. I think that's fine. There's some potential that we'll die, but not really. And then I think we should get rid of a card because we picked up a card. Things that we're not really using right now are Veteran Investigator. This is also a symmetric effect, so it gives our opponent a benefit. So in some ways this says 2 costs your opponent draws a card, and that's bad. Because you're just replacing your card with whatever card is being drawn. So for 2 costs you can let your opponent draw a card. And that's bad, you do get a unit out of it obviously, which is nice. But we don't want our opponent to draw cards. Our draw's been pretty good, our deck is pretty good. I think I'm fine getting rid of it here. The other choice is this Iterative Improvement, which we did take extra copies of, and if we get rid of it, it just kills 4 copies. We haven't really been using it, so that makes it okay to get rid of. That doesn't mean we couldn't use it. Copying Legion Saboteur, for example, is good, but honestly, that extra created card is maybe harmful to us at this point, because our hand is just non-stop full. So I'm going to drop that. And we go into Katarina, who has duplicate, which is a problem. Our goal for dealing with Katarina is Zillion and maybe this Blade's Edge. So all we're looking for is Zillion and maybe this Blade's Edge. Time Winder is considerable as well. I think she's going to drop at like 5-4. And then... no, it's going to be bigger than that, right? Is it 10-8? And then +2 from the other one? Oh, that's going to be so hard. So Zillion was our kind of condition here, and we didn't find him. If I pass, they probably drop Katarina. We could attack to just make sure that they play something. Okay, they dropped 2 Katarinas. Okay, so 6-4 is not bad. Not worried about 6-4. We can drop Ekko, kill them both. We get some dragon boons. And we attack. Check how much life they're at. So 14. And our hand is full, of course. It is a continuous problem. We have 8 damage with Blade's Edge and 4 damage with Time Winder. So they're actually at 4 hit points. That is how you should think about that. So we're going to start with the Blade's Edge, and then we're going to Time Trick. We're going to skip, because actually what we want to pull is Blade's Edge. We're going to Time Trick again. And we're going to skip. We didn't pull the other Blade's Edge. Makes me a little bit sad, but we do have Time Winder here, and we can discard a card. Doesn't matter which one, really. Might is the least usable card in our hand. If they attack us right now, we could Death Lotus, and then that would actually kill them. That actually sounds pretty good. So we're just gonna pass. Let them attack and Death Lotus, and it kills them both. I was gonna Time Winder them both, but Death Lotus is smarter. Good job me thinking about that. Skip, because again, we're looking for Blade's Edge, but we find Zillion, which is close enough. And we found her Blade's Edge. The Zillion drops does 4 to everything. That's why I meant he was close enough to a Blade's Edge. And we just attack here. We already win, but we also had Blade's Edge to win if something weird were to happen. And by something weird, I mean like they kill a unit or whatever. Wasn't going to happen on Katarina, but in other situations it can happen, so we want to be aware of that. Thief's Gloves is incredible. So we are going to take that, and again we put it on our main champion because we want to see our main champion. It is much better than Tough or I have all subtypes for this deck. Certain other decks I have all subtypes is good. Tough is, I mean, it's like fine in some situations, but it's not as good as Thief's Glove. I'm trying to say that correctly, but it's really hard. So we have another shop coming up where we can spend rerolls, and here Reap Essence 2 would be the only thing we want to take. We don't really need a Sandstone Scout or Challenger for the same reasons that we didn't need them before. Reap Essence 2 will make Ekko bigger because he drops with Stalker's Blade and hits something and kills it, but it's not really our win condition is making Ekko huge. I mean, it could be. We could turn it into a win condition, but we're also summoning copies, not like the original is not going to be gaining from that most of the time. So I think we can do better, and since there's only a shop coming up, this is our last chance to really spend these rerolls on 3 powers at once. So I think we do that and then look for something better. Deceptively Deadly 2 is really nice. We can, you know, use Sharpened Resolve and make what's his name bigger? Ekko bigger. It's the same thing as last time though. But we have Mystic Meditation, which reduces the cost of spells. We have a lot of spells. Reducing their cost is very good, and this happens at every round start, so over time it's going to reduce cost. And we also have Quick Draw, which is a more immediate version of kind of the same thing. So I'm probably going to take Quick Draw because we're just drawing a lot of cards, and I think reducing all of their cost by 1 is going to be really good for us. Between Draven and Yasuo, I'm not sure who's easier, but I almost always go this way for the shop, no matter kind of what the choice is here. And so I'm going to skip the healer, because I'm going to plan on not taking damage, and go through Draven, who does have Unyielding Determination, so we're going to have to kill him twice. This has Unstable Inventory, which could also be bad, but I don't know, whatever. The champion here doesn't matter as much, but if it was a choice between like Zed on the left, or Aurelion on the left, and like Draven on the right, I'm going right if I'm trying to win. A lot of times I still just want the power anyway, and I'm not really concerned about whether I'm winning or losing. So we can see from the Thief's Glove that we got Bonded Buckler and Rally Banner, so we rally on death. When we play Ekko, 1 Ekko will die, so we'll get a rally. Don't think we're going to be able to take advantage of it, and we only need 1. Actually, we can keep the other Ekko, it's fine. We're usually trying to draw Ekko anyway. I don't know why I would get rid of that. Shunpo gives us rally. Actually, probably fine to keep also, and Time Winders. I don't know, everything's fine. But we might be able to draw into like a Time Trick, which is a little bit better. Is Time Trick even in the deck? I don't know anymore. I feel like if I pass, they pass. And if that's true, then we should attack. And if it's not true, we should pass and let them play a card. I don't know, whatever. Just gonna attack here. And these are cost reduced, so if we played them now, it's probably better than playing them later. But we also don't want to feed Draven cards, so we're just gonna drop Ekko. What did I draw? Does he have Entrancing Lure? Oh, because of Arcane Knowledge. Okay. We got our mana back and we got Rally because the Ephemeral died. I forgot that I could just attack and then he would also die, and that would be good for me. So we're gonna play the Time Trick. It's the only thing we can play. We can play Cold Shot. We can play this guy for free, and then we attack. It's not quite enough damage to win, but it's getting there. And Time Trick again. We get Hexite Crystal, and we can take an Ekko, which is fine, I guess. We're gonna play the Hexite Crystal, get it out of her hand. We can do 30 more damage now. Play Called Shot. Play Called Shot. Should I level? No, not yet. Play Time Trick. Take the Blade's Edge. Blade's Edge is free. And I'm just gonna send it into the Nexus because I'm not worried about this next round, but we could have used it to kill Draven. I think it's fine to just pass here. Kinda wanna see what they attack. So yeah, they attack Ekko. He has Deathless and Rally on Death. So we could get a free rally if I let him die and we don't really lose him. That would be fine. We're gonna block with our weakest unit on Draven so we don't take 18 damage. And could do this. Second option is we Timewinder. But I think this is fine. We'll also get a strike and we'll draw a spell. Although I think our hand is full. Yeah. Unfortunately our hand was full. Now we did rally. So we're going to Timewinder. Discarding cards. We're discarding Veteran Investigator again because we don't want Draven to draw. And they do get a new Draven at next turn start. So killing him isn't always worthwhile. We're going to skip so that we can get a better card potentially. We didn't. We got Death Lotus. Which is fine. Just not what we're looking for. And we're going to attack with this. 21 damage, enough to win the game. We have too much draw. I love draw. Draw is good. We have too much of it. Or I guess really we don't have enough hand space. Time Trick with Brainworm is so good. So this is a spell that you already have, and a spell that you're casting multiple times around, and your opponents not having cards is like incredible. You always want your opponents not to have cards, but Brainworm is normally bad. And the reason it's normally bad is because you can't play it enough times for it to be good. Like them just losing one card doesn't super matter, doesn't make a big difference. Them losing multiple cards per round does make a big difference. So we're going to take this, and then we'll evaluate the other card choices as well. Just, it's the Overexplain. I'm over-explaining. Chamber of Renewal. Not bad. Gives your champion Spell Shield and +2/+1. I feel like it would hit the Ephemeral champion first, and then it wouldn't matter. Because that guy's going to die anyway. But it also has Nora's Tea, which is a Mysterious Portal. I like Mysterious Portal. It basically says when you draw me, get a free blocker, which, you know, not bad. I'm happy with that. And we have Decimate with Double Time Watch. This is just really expensive and does less than our Blade's Edge, so we would never take that. There could be situations where we want that, but this isn't one of those. So we're going to take Time Trick. It's Predict, it's Draw, it only costs 1 because of when we draw a card, it costs 1 less, so usually it's going to cost 1, and it makes our opponents discard a card. This is cracked. Viego? Okay. At the shop, again, we just don't take cards. So if I really want to go into it, Bloodthirsty Marauder is almost takeable. It's a 3/1, creates 2 blockers. That's not bad for 1 cost, but we don't want to take cards to dilute our card pool. We already have Might in our deck, giving it Stout Shield. Also not bad. Being able to give ourselves Barrier at burst speed is pretty good, but we don't want to dilute our card pool. A Shark Trainer. Cost 7, we're never taking it. Cost 6, we're never taking it. Don't do landmarks, we're never taking it. And Careful Preparation is... I'm honestly still not sure how this card works. To play, place a card from your hand into your deck, predict, then create an exact copy of the chosen card. This card sucks, because you don't predict what you just put on top of your deck, which is the card you want more of. I guess you get rid of the card you don't want to predict a card that you do want, and it has doubling dice. It's Zillion's champion spell, but we don't really need it, and it adds a card to our deck. Our board is almost never full, so Little Buddies is fine. It also gives us a blocker every round. I love Little Buddies, especially in earlier adventures. So I'm just going to take it. If we fight Aurelia, it's free blockers. We do have 2 rerolls. We could potentially roll into something better, but we could also potentially roll into something worse. And, you know, it's good enough. Also, we have Zed. I think we're fine. Our deck is like kind of rocking right now. We've built up really strong powers. We have bombs from perfection with this Frostspike and with the Blade's Edge. I think we're doing really great. I think we're going to win. But, you know, could always be wrong. Also, these Poros do 4. We got Titan's Axe and Bonded Bucklers, so we don't have On Death Rally. So, that's something to consider. I don't know what Viego does with 3 mana. I think he probably plays the thing that makes Shadow Encroaching Mist. I think that is the most likely option. I don't know if he does it. One thing you can do, though, is do a fast spell. And since it's not a burst spell, it gives them the priority. So yeah, that's the guy that I was talking about. Oh, duplicate, so he made more than normal. And we're actually fine just playing Time Tricks here. I should have played the 2-cost one, but I didn't. I made a mistake. It's fine. We can play Fallen Feline for free. And then we can drop Ekko here, who is going to kill like the units we don't care about. But we get our spell mana back, so we can, you know, play more spells. We can use Hexite Crystal just to do 4 damage. That kills everything, hurts the Nexus. We can use our Time Trick, taking a Time Trick, and you can just watch their cards just disappear. We use this expensive Time Trick, and we'll take an Ekko. And our tech wins the game, by the way. So if I just do this, I win the game. But it would also give us 3 spell mana back, and we could play 2 more Time Tricks, and then they would have no cards. No board and no cards. I think I've explained everything. I'm definitely exhausted from doing so. Draw a champion on Blade's Edge. Yeah, we want to draw our champion. We could draw it twice. That's not good because our hand is full, of course. That is something to consider, but it does 8 damage for 1 mana. It does 8 damage for 1 mana. We're gonna take it. Other choices, Reckless Trifarian, again, is fine. His stat line's pretty good. He just can't block. And then you have Curse of the Tomb with Brainworm. I like Brainworm. I don't think I need it twice. But it does obliterate things if they would die, which probably doesn't even matter, but could in some situations, not in this one. But yeah, more on the 8 damage for 1 mana is definitely where I'm going. And then we have Zed with level up. Zed's power is Blade in the Darkness. Round end, if the player's Nexus took damage this round, the foe's strongest unit strikes it. So we want our Nexus to not take damage. If you keep Death Lotus, it does 4 damage. That'll drop with potentially 4 hit points, maybe more. Or we can reroll and try to get our Ekko. I'm going to try to get our Ekko. Or a Blade's Edge is great too. Okay, they play Lulu instead of Zed. So he'll have 8 hit points. We didn't draw our champion. We can look with Time Trick. We don't find it, so we skip. Let's just play a Time Trick. Now we do find our champion, so we'll take the bigger one. Not sure why this one's bigger than this one, but it is. So we'll take it. It also removes more of their cards. We're out of spell mana, so we could drop Ekko to refill that. He gets dragon boons because, I don't know, we're just doing really well. Because we've been blessed. Play the other Time Trick. It takes Shunpo here, don't need to because we already have one in hand. And we roll into another Time Trick, which we can play. And we already have zillions, so let's take Death Lotus. We can play it if we get attacked, which we're going to. So we pass. Oh no, don't attack us. We Death Lotus. So we don't take any damage, because if we get damaged, we'll get damaged twice, which is not what we want to happen. We can use our Blade's Edge. This will... Actually, that's not bad either, and we get called shots. And what a good deck. And we attack him in the game. Yeah. So things have really synergized for us. And it's all good, man. It's just all good. At the end of the adventure, if you see a battle rewards with cards you don't like, you can hit the reroll button. This is a thing you're allowed to do. Problem is, you could reroll into something worse than what you already have. So if I hit reroll and I see a bunch of like 9 cost units or 8 cost units, I'm going to be really disappointed, and I don't want to see that. We have Legion Saboteur. It's a card already in our deck. It's doing fine for us. Taking Deathless on it doesn't make it worse. I think that's fine. Thief's Gloves on Ancient Prep is also fine, because Thief's Gloves is really good. I'm not sure exactly what it does for landmarks though, so I'm probably not going to take it. And then this costs 6, so we never take it. So, Legion Saboteur. Could spend the rerolls and maybe look for something, but again, you have like a fairly high chance of pulling something worse rather than better. And then finally, an hour and a half later, we get to Aurelion Sol, whose powers Cower, Worship, Bag, Round, and the foe summons a random level 2 champion with cost equal to their max mana. So your round 6 is pretty bad. You have the possibility of Viego, or not round 6, but 6 mana is pretty bad. You have the possibility of Viego. I think there's one other guy that's bad. Round 7 is Galio. Galio is really tough to deal with. And round 8 is Trendemir or Volibear. Volibear's worse. So there's a bunch of bad champions that you can roll into, and then once they hit 10 mana, they just always pull Aurelion Sol. We have 2 Time Tricks, which I'm happy about, and Blade's Edge to draw into Ekko. We can keep the Zillion, and then that makes it more likely that we draw into Ekko with the Blade's Edge. I think that's probably fine. And we have blockers. They play a thing. We could strip Spell Shield here by dropping Zillion, but then if we draw Ekko, we can't play Ekko. So I think I'm just going to Blade's Edge the Nexus. And then we drew Ekko. And it's actually even better than normal, because Ekko costs 1 less, because we drew him. Play our drop border, and then because when we play Ekko, because of blue buff, we're going to get our spell mana back. We do want to spend spell mana, so we'll Time Trick, and we'll take Ekko. And this Ekko is bigger than this Ekko. This time it makes sense, because this one we saw in a prediction. And then we will play Ekko. Which gives us mana back, so we can play Time Trick. Taking Ekko, and then we play Time Trick, taking Time Trick, and then we play Time Trick, skipping, Ekko levels up, and drop Legion Saboteur because it's free, and I don't have the attack token. I'm so sad. I'm gonna play Called Shot. So these are free, and it's a lot of damage, but I don't know. I mean, they're free. But now we have like a bunch of cards we can't play and our hand is full. But it was free. We got Nasus, which is maybe like the best option here. And we just attack and win the game. Like, they can do nothing about it. We made them discard all their cards. They could potentially have had a Celestial Wonder, which is like the stun 2 at fast. I don't even think that would have mattered. Maybe if they stunned both of these and then blocked. But we have Chrono Break, so we could Revival and Rally. There's just nothing they can do. And you should never turn a win into a loss. So if you play a card, potentially they can play a card back. Very unlikely. AI usually plays all their cards up front. They don't like think that you're going to play a card and then play one back. But I just want to be a little bit bad manners here. And so we're going to do that. Then we win, and then I guess we could have like Brahmed or Lonely Porod or something. Just to seal that off. Anyway, that is our Overexplain. I did it with a low-level champion because I wanted our decisions to actually matter and have impact. Whereas if we use like a higher level champion, then there are less decision points. But so things that we focused on were thinning out our deck so that we only picked good things, synergizing with the things that we already had through Perfection. I mean, Perfection is just good anyway. Like, it's almost always a take. We took good nodes so that we could get these Scribe of Sorrow powers. And It only took 2 of them. 3 would have been better because a 3rd mana would have been better than Unnatural Selection. I'm not even sure that ever went off. It may have. I don't know. We took Sorcery as our starter, which, you know, gave us the spell mana to really play out our hand all of the time. And Early Bird gave us 8 damage. Quick Draw made it so we could play all those cards that we were drawing, because we were having that problem where we just kept drawing too many cards. And Little Buddies gives us a blocker, and also it does 4 damage because of Perfection. And then on top of that, like the cards we took, all worked towards what we were trying to do. Death Lotus protected us by doing 4 damage to all units. We played it like one time. It was a card that we definitely had. Legion Saboteur we were able to use to do 8 damage pretty frequently. Blade's Edge I took. Add a Spells chest, which again, normally don't do. But it seemed like a really good call, considering that we had Perfection. And it has Elixir of Sorcery, and if we play Katarina, we get one for free. All of those made this an incredible card. Getting the Hero's Horn at the end, even though it had the potential to overfill our hand, made it so that we were basically guaranteed to draw Ekko, because we drew 2 champions, so that was pretty good. This card was probably actually the star of the show, if I'm honest. And then, yeah, I mean, getting rid of the rest of our cards was just good to make it so that we drew into all these cards that we grew into really powerful win conditions. And the Shadow Totem and the blue buff, especially the blue buff, just gave us so much more mana, and Shadow Totem made it so that we got double Stalker's Blade, and also double draws from the Arcane Knowledge, which may have actually been a problem. And of course Thieves' Glove is just good. Flamebreath Sol is like whatever, but we just picked it as a card reward, and not add a champion item chest where we could potentially have gotten something better. We managed our rerolls pretty well, taking good powers when we saw them and not overcommitting, looking for potentially better powers and taking worse powers instead, and we didn't end up using any revives. We got 10 levels out of it using the Cosmic Blessing consumable, and of course Stalker's Blade was the other one that just let us actually win the game by triggering the strike effect here. So that is that, and I'm exhausted, so I'm gonna go. But I hope you enjoyed. Hope this was very explanatory for any newer players. If you're a veteran player, my guess is you tuned out about an hour and a half ago. Which is fine. You know, like, not everything's for everyone. But thank you for watching if you stuck around and watched the whole thing. If you like what I'm doing, like and subscribe. And I will see you in the next one, which will be less than an hour and 40 minutes long. Goodbye.